Hey, and welcome back once again to Ancient Ways for Modern Days. My name is Mike Freeman, and today we are continuing this story where Jesus heals a man who has been born blind. And now what we're going to find is the Pharisees are about to be involved. And we're going to see the tension start to rise as they wrestle with the reality of who Jesus is. And I think there is one of the most important questions asked in today's text. It's a question that I want to ask of you, a question that I think that you can use to ask of others as well as people consider who Christ is and what he has done. And so let me invite you to John chapter 9, starting in verse 13. Our text today, here's what it says. It says, they brought to the Pharisees the man who had formerly been blind. Now, it was the Sabbath day when Jesus made the mud and opened his eyes. We've already talked about that. He healed the man on the Sabbath that was not in grave danger of death. He kneaded the saliva together with the mud, and he anointed the man. All of these things which were prohibited on the Sabbath, not by the law of God or the word of God, but because of the word of man, because of these religious leaders. So verse 15, it says, so the Pharisees again asked him how he had received his sight. And he said to them, he put mud on my eyes, and I washed, and I see. I just the facts, right? Just so straight, right? He put mud on my eyes. He could have commented, it was kind of gross. He didn't. He just straight facts. I washed, and I see. Some of the Pharisees said, this man, he's not from God, for he does not keep the Sabbath. But others said, here it is. How can a man who is a sinner do such signs? And there was a division among them. Now, this question right here, how can a man who is a sinner do such signs? This is the very core, and this is what the Pharisees end up having to ignore when they deny Christ. Listen, Christ and his signs, not just simply miracles. Remember, John's gospel, he is highlighting that these are signs, just like signs on the side of the road that point towards something specific. These signs point toward the specific identity of who Jesus is. He is someone who's able to heal a man who is born blind. I mean, this is why there's division among the Pharisees. Look, some of them say, hey, this guy, he did something on the Sabbath that we don't allow, and so clearly he's not from God. If he doesn't do exactly what we say, he clearly can't be from God. Now remember, Jesus was not violating the word of God. He was violating the word of man. And others, listen, they ask the question, there is something more here. There is something beneath the surface. There is something we must explore. We must investigate. We need to flesh out this claim of Jesus. How can a man who is a sinner do such signs? Not just this sign, but they know the other things that Jesus have done. They come to the spot where they are saying, we need to investigate the reality of who Jesus is. Now, I love this question. I want to ask this question to you because I think that there is evidence that leads us to a spot where we can have great confidence in who Jesus is and what he has done. I think that there is great evidence, there's great proof for having a reasonable faith in Jesus, in his perfect life, his sacrificial death, and in his resurrection. There is evidence, and there's ways that we can provide some of that evidence. If you want to reach out to us, I can help with that. But here's the deal. You must explore the evidence. So many people, they want to be like this first group of Pharisees, that they just want to dismiss Jesus outright. Maybe that's you. Maybe that's your friends. You know what, Jesus, I've heard some things about him, but this and this and this make it so that, you know what, there's no way that I can believe in him. Doesn't science disprove Jesus? Doesn't this disprove Jesus? And it's just like this automatic knee-jerk reaction. And I think it's culturally trained in us to not even give credence to any of the claims of Jesus. But the second question, how can a man who is a sinner do such signs? This is the question we want to lead people to ask. Have you explored the claims of Jesus? Have you explored the evidence for who Jesus is? Have you explored the evidence for the resurrection of Jesus Christ? There is plenty of evidence. Books like The Case for Christ Books like Evidence That Demands a Verdict. These are things that you should, if you are not convinced about Christ, these are things that you should explore. Don't just have the knee-jerk reaction and say, you know what, I'm just going to dismiss Jesus because I don't like some of the claims. Rather, do the work, ask the questions, find your questions can be answered. See, our ancient way for our modern day, it's to not just be encouraged as a believer who trusts in Jesus, but to remember that your faith has real evidence that can lead others toward asking this question and considering the claims and the evidence of Jesus Christ. This is our ancient way for our modern day.